I guess we should try and go to the spooky first.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the spooky is a bit roped off because of the little project construction going underway here currently. But you can still see the AC-47 based off of the DC-47 Skytrain used for cargo and paratroopers during World War II.
We're getting to the fun part.
Yeah.
The fun part's on the side.
Here's a quick stop at the sign for those who want to pause the video to take a look.
You could either have 3 miniguns or 10 separate 30 cal machine guns poking out of the windows.
Give everyone a chance to use the guns on the side, but there's a peek at the 3 miniguns out the side of the aircraft. It's a nice looking plane.
That's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
We're about to see even more.
How about some more?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize how far we walked over. An evolution, if you will, of the gunship idea. It's what we're going to be coming up on.
You know, not actually on an airframe that much older than the C-47.
Yeah, that's true. It's incredible to think how soon after the war the C-130 was developed. I always kind of personally myself kind of think of it as like, oh yeah, 70s. No, this is a much older aircraft.
Oh yeah.
Than,
but here's the AC-130A Spectre. When you don't want the enemy to live anymore, you've got some friends down on the ground. You need
Hello there.
You need the enemy gone, and you don't want them to be poking their heads out again. Here you go.
Yeah, there are different versions of this with different combinations of armament. That would be the 20s, I believe.
Yeah, those are the Vulcans. Then you got the
and there's the
up there.
The little Gal 2s, I think. Here, typically found on M19 AA SPGs and ships throughout the war, the 40mm Bofors.
I got to go into one of those last year, an AC-130A, and it's on the inside. I just can't imagine what it would be like inside that thing when you're firing all that stuff at once.
Yeah, especially with the 105, because this one doesn't have the 105.
Yeah, that's where the dome would be normally. A 105 howitzer in the air. We put it on a plane because you can.
Can you imagine the kind of what the recoil would feel like? You're just flying along and all of a sudden, boom, you just go sideways for a second.
Yeah. Could you imagine if it was a high velocity gun instead of a howitzer?
Oh yeah.
This is the First Lady AC-130. It's actually got a plaque up here dedicated to all AC-130s.
All living and dead Spectres.
I'll take a look here for you. It's something nice to read. It's definitely nice to see plaques of dedication to the men, women, and vehicles.
Absolutely.
Given by the Spectre Association to honor all Spectres, both living and deceased. Absolutely. I love the attitude that these people have towards, the aircraft and the crew. It's fantastic.
And here we'll be seeing something a little more familiar to those who play War Thunder. A Canberra, which they finally got the decorations up on.
It's the Christmas Canberra.
hopefully. I do like all of the Christmas decorations on the vehicles they have here. It's a nice touch, for sure.
Back in the 70s, the Air Force Museum used to have an Atlas missile sitting up.
Yeah.
And because it had the pointy hat, they would put a Santa hat on it and then give it a little Santa face for Christmas
That's
every
nice.
year. Yeah, I wish they still had it and still did that.
Yeah, it's got stockings under the engines. Very nice
That's
touch.
great.
Yeah, it's incredible how small the B-57 Canberra is. When you think of bombers, you think of massive things like the thing that's behind me, which we'll get to soon. But yeah, it still carries a substantial payload, but it's definitely smaller when compared to its other bomber brethren.
The people know the B-57B from in-game. It has the 850s on it, but this is the EB-57B, and it doesn't have anything in it.
Yeah.
It's important to remember, though, the era this came from, Tex. So this would have been flying at the same time as like that F-86 we saw and everything, right? So it's small for a bomber that was serving in Vietnam, but for when it was built, I mean, it was
Top of the line.
B-25 size. It was it was in that medium bomber range.
Yep. And here, actually, I think I read something about it replacing the older B-25s, B-26s.
Yeah.
And here we have a very famous aircraft, a B-17G. It's still got the engines on it. A quick stop at the signs. Here we have a sign giving the story of B-17Gs overall, and this one specifically, along with some specifications. And here we have one honoring different bomb groups and wings. Very nice. Do not touch or rotate the propellers.
Well,
Do it.
look, sometimes you have to break the rules.
Oh gosh.
It's not gonna hurt it. This girl's been sitting here for a number of decades, and she survived the war. I think she'll be okay.
Absolutely massive, this aircraft.
And the B-7 is pretty small in comparison to the B-29, which the B-29 is small in comparison to the B-36.
Yeah.
And it's still, the B-17 is still a big girl.
It's incredible the size of aircraft we put in the air.
Oh yeah.
The gift of flight is certainly one of humanity's most amazing achievements. Alrighty. Okay. Beautiful aircraft. Over here, we got a B-25, and Rocker, I do believe you said in your video that your B-25 had broomsticks. Well, so does this one.
Nice. It's a pretty popular thing to do with the B-25s to, because I mean the Doolittle raid is what they're most famous for, right? So
Yeah.
why not replicate that?
Dust beware.
But yeah, the B-25 is. So I'm assuming they're going for the whole Doolittle Raider thing as well on this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
very nice looking aircraft.
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas. Here we have a sign here for the gallant men of the U.S. I hope you guys can read that. I'm not entirely certain.
Yeah, that looks
That
fine.
makes it hard.
It looks fine to me. I'm sure it looks fine on the stream as well.
All right. Quick look at the sign.
Yeah, this was a this was a converted to a trainer model, right? The TB 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It says on the sign.
Okay.
Yeah, all of the signs here detail how the aircraft made their way to the museum, which is very nice.
It's
A little
always
bit of
great.
history.
Yep.
Yeah.
I hope we were able to get some of the plaques without too much glare on them.
The plaques look great. The plaques look just fine.
So hopefully people will be able to pause.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is the stream it's not too bad jittery wise, but whenever you walk up to the plaque, it almost seems like it just freezes on there for a second. So it gives
I've
you
got
enough
a
time
really
to.
steady hand.
That's what it is.
Very
I'm loving
nice medium.
the early Air Force roundel there on the wings.
Yep.
I love that style.
It's a shame they had to stop using it because of the identification with the rising sun.
Yep.
Here we have a massive helicopter, just incredibly massive.
Oh yeah, the Stallion.
But it's not
Well,
the Stallion.
oh,
That's what I thought too.
No, the Stallion is Navy, right? This is the what, the Pavlo, yeah.
Pavlo 4.
Yeah, that's right. The Air Force
Pavlo.
designation is Pavlo. The Navy designation is Stallion. But regardless, a big boy.
Oh yeah, it's an incredible helicopter.
Absolutely huge.
Massive.
Just the prop blades on this. It's got the wingspan of a B-25.
Yeah.
Can't imagine what it would be like standing under one of these while the rotor's idling.
Yeah. They actually they just upgraded these for the Marines, so the Marines are going to use these for a good few more years. And they added a third engine to it.
Oh my gosh.
Because why not, right? Yeah, 3 turbo shafts, that'll do it, right?
Yep. We'll have to ask one of our friends recently joined the Marines if he gets to ride in any of these at some point.
There you go.
Yeah, it's an incredible aircraft.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's 2 stories tall. Pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever seen the video of one of these during its refueling operation when it chops the tip off of its refueling probe?
Oops.
It was a Stallion version, but the refueling probe stuck out a little bit longer than the one on that one, and there it is. They chopped off the tip of it with the blades.
So this is how Santa makes all the presents in one night. He uses a blackbird.
There you go.
It all makes sense now.
That's pretty much the only way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah. Got some plaques here because I think you said this was donated quite early.
Yeah, 1990 to 95. I mean, by then, the SR-71 hadn't been around for that long. I mean, it was still pretty impressive for anyone to have one of these, any museum to have one of these. Cost a whole lot of money to get here, a lot of time, a number of years, and they were finally able to get her here. And she's been one of the defining aircraft for me during my childhood. She was I mean, it's such a futuristic aircraft, just such a outlandish look to her.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. The engines are just incredibly massive.
I mean, it looks better than anything any sort of superhero
It-
could fly. You know,
It,
I think one of these engines is almost as large as one of the MiG-21s.
yes.
oh yeah,
over there.
absolutely. It's impressive to think that something built in the 60s, late 50s and early 60s, could still look futuristic today. You know?
Yeah. It mentions
This is
on
the big tail.
yeah.
Okay.
It's actually quite unique as far as blackbirds go.
Yeah, it's the only one left with the big tail. See, the long booty.
Yeah. The tail was for observation devices and sensors. They tested, I think, just one or two, or maybe even just a handful of these. That is a loud aircraft.
Oh yeah.
I can't even see it.
This is what happens when you're right next to Eglin Air Force Base.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know if you guys can see it, but they're doing some nice stuff.
yeah. What a war.
Well, another thing that everyone should do is go to an air show.
Oh, absolutely.
The feeling of like just the rumble of the jet engines, just otherworldly.
Something that has to be experienced for certain. But yeah, the big tail. They tested just a few of these because they were trying to see if they could fit more sensors onto it and whether or not if that would compromise the performance. They found that it didn't compromise the performance any notable amount, but that the sensors weren't too useful. I'm assuming for how incredibly fast these things move, it doesn't really get much time to pick too much up. So they stopped making the big tail blackbirds, and so this is the last one in existence. Only one like it. For something else quite massive, we got something that'll probably still be in service after we die at this rate.
Oh
The,
yeah. Jesus.
The big B-52. Yep.
The buff, the big, ugly, fat fellow.
Flying thing. Yeah. It's incredible how large this thing is.
Absolutely. Look at it.
Looking at the sign, this is a B-52G Stratofortress. And fun little fact that I'll take the time to point out according to the sign. During Desert Storm, the B-52s completed approximately 1,620 sorties. In fact, the B-52s managed to drop almost a third of the entire tonnage of bombs dropped by U.S. aircraft.
There you go.
Absolutely fantastic.
That is, it's incredible. I can kind of see why they don't want to replace it quite yet.
Absolutely. It's this thing will never retire. They're gonna keep it flying forever.
At this rate, I want to.
In that it's one of the most perfect airframe. I think the amount of research that went into creating the B-52, much like the A-10, it is just so immense.
It's
so well built.
It's one of those things where there won't be a technology innovative enough, innovative enough to come along and require a replacement for quite a while. At this point, I'd like to see it go for a full 100 years. It'll only be, 30 some years from now? That'll be the full 100. Now, you told me that this landing gear is supposed to be this length.
Yeah. When the aircraft is fully loaded with fuel, and as you can see, there's these big fuel nacelles. The landing gear will touch the ground, especially upon landing. And it touches the ground when it's fully loaded with fuel and it has the armament on the external
Rex.
hard points.
Yeah, I'll walk over to the external hard point over there. Absolutely massive hard point. But yeah, designed to be able to bend that far without unnecessary or duress on the aircraft. Yeah, damaging the wings or airframe. Quite an incredible piece of technology we got here.
Yeah.
I just love the
absolutely.
massive tails that we have on our bombers. From the B-17 to the B-29s, the B-32s, and the XB-19, just absolutely massive stabilizer.
Absolutely. At the Air Force Museum, you can still see where they had to cut out the they had to cut out a section of the hangar's doors just to fit the tail in.
And here's one of the possible rear mounts, because I know the B-52 has used quite a different number rear tail mounts.
Mm-hmm.
Guns.
It's interesting to see. It's interesting to see this on the G, because the G was I think by that point they had switched to a different gun mount, but that right there, I call it the cow udder, just because I mean,
yeah, I see why.
But yeah, the quad 50 mount is fascinating.
Yeah.
And then they replaced it for the Vulcan.
Mm-hmm.